Following power failures statewide during a historic cold snap, ERCOT has come under a lot of criticism for its policies, sparking reform bills making their way through the legislature. And now ERCOT's under more scrutiny after announcing that our power grid was under high stress yesterday and is still experiencing tight grid conditions today. Joining us to talk about this is Travis County GOP Chairman Matt Mackowiak and Glenn Smith from Progress, Texas. Now, the winter storms in February knocked out the power to many Texas homes, contributed or caused the deaths of over 100 people. Yesterday, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT, issued that warning that the power grid was stressed and we needed to conserve power to keep the lights on. Glenn, what is going on and what are lawmakers doing about it?
Let's first remember that the electric grid is really run by Governor Abbott and his appointees to the Public Utility Commission. ERCOT's kind of the handmaiden of the Public Utility Commission. What they're doing about it? Nothing. They're fiddling around the edges doing nothing. And while they're doing nothing, they're really doing something today. Republicans are about to vote out of committee a bond bailout bill of $100 billion or more to give to the companies that failed in the February near total blackout. $100 billion to be repaid by the taxpayers of Texas. That's what they've really got on the board to do. Little else is happening and the grid remains in danger.
Matt Mackowiak, what is the problem and how is it fixable?
Yeah, the challenge here is that it's very hard to eliminate a 100-year storm as a possibility and as a risk to our system. Now, there were lots of mistakes here, right? You didn't have weatherization of the natural gas pipelines and the natural gas froze. You have the challenge of the wind turbines freezing and the solar panels around the state freezing and having snow on top of them. It took renewables from something around 30% of our overall electric generation down to 2 or 3%. That was a problem. You didn't have rolling blackouts because they were unable to execute on rolling blackouts. If that had happened, you would have kept most people in their homes and you wouldn't have had 100 or more people die. But look, we need reform to the PUC. There's no question. The governor has now had one of his new commissioners confirmed, and he's now nominated a new commissioner for the chairman of the PUC. But I don't know that I agree with Glenn here, my friend, about absolving ERCOT entirely. There's a lot of blame to go around. The generators made some mistakes. Folks like ERCOT made some mistakes. PUC made some mistakes. But this was also a once-in-a-100-year storm. And sometimes that happens, and you can't plan for every eventuality, but we do have to learn from what happened. We have to make sure it never happens again.
Yeah, one other thing, though, Matt, yesterday was not a 100-year event. It was a pretty typical day, and, you know, they're putting out warnings. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and I'd have to understand exactly what happened. It's possible the weather was unexpected in some way. As you know, it was pretty warm the last few days. People are still at home a lot because of COVID and work from home, and we haven't gotten to reopening yet. In Austin, where they are keeping things shut down, that's more of an issue. If you have places where people are going back to work, people are going to be in other places and not using as much electricity at home. So it's possible all those things are coming together. But you're right, it's ridiculous that we're having questions about our grid on a day like yesterday. There's absolutely no justification for it, no reason for it. And if anything, it undermines public confidence and the confidence of our legislature in ERCOT and in the people involved.
Glenn Smith, final word. What needs to be done?
I think we ought to have a special session midsummer that tackles this problem alone. Look, it's the governor and the legislature's fault. They created a system of regulating public utilities that is corrupt, broke, and companies have been gaming it for years with Abbott and others' permission. And now don't forget this figure, $100 billion or more in ultimately taxpayer money to put in the pockets of the companies that caused the problem, and still the grid's not working on a mild April day. It's time for a total reform top to bottom and probably new leadership where we can get around to voting Abbott out of office next year.
Okay, we are out of time and have to wrap it up, and summer is coming. Matt, Glenn, thank you both very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.